All right, welcome back to another lesson on Adobe Illustrator. We learned the pen tool, and the pen tool is a great tool. It's very versatile, allows us to do a lot of things. However, there is another tool that I think is important for you to learn called the Curvature Pen Tool. This tool is not very old. It only came out about 2.5 years ago in Adobe Illustrator updates. Um, this is one of those where if you learned with the regular pen tool, sometimes learning the curvature pen tool can be a little frustrating. However, if you learn it early, I think you will find that it's a very useful tool to have in your arsenal when it comes to drawing effectively and quickly. All right, so first and foremost, what I've got for you is right here. It's the Curvature Pen Tool. The command shortcut I've got up here for you is Shift with the little accent hyphen that's next to the 1 key. This is not the one next to the return key. It goes the opposite way. So that is Shift. It's the one with a little curve above it too, if that helps you kind of remember. What this tool does is it's going to allow you to draw curves and straight lines very quickly, very fast, without having to worry about pulling handles. Now, just like the pen tool, you can adjust things later, and we're going to talk about that as well. Below, I've given you several different activities that we're going to start by practicing, and then I've given you some more complicated ones to really help you master your craft. So before we do anything, I'm going to turn on my curvature pen tool, and my properties panel is going to change. I'm going to turn my fill off so that I can see what's underneath it. And I'm going to turn my stroke up to at least a 3. I'm going to turn mine up to a 5, and I'm going to change it to something more fun. We'll go with this kind of pinky purple today so that you can see me a little bit better. The other thing that's really great is turning on your grids and your guides. So we're going to do that as well, and that's going to help us kind of maybe visualize things a little bit better. So we're going to go up here to Illustrator, Preferences, and I'm going to go to my grids and my guides. This is one of those things that you're going to see this on the certification exam, so it's a good thing to have. Now you can see I've already got mine typed in. We're going to grid line every 60 points, and I'm going to do a subdivision of 6, which I've got here for you. And I am going to go ahead and say okay, because mine's already set. All that is doing is we're just setting what the grid should look like. To turn on our grid, we can go to View, and then we're going to go all the way down. And we're going to hit, see, Show Grid. It's also Command with the other little accent mark. Okay, and that's how we turn it on. Now, for some people, this is really helpful. People find it very effective. It's very easy for them to use. For some people, it's maybe a little bit overwhelming. I'm actually going to turn it back off, but I did want you to know how to turn it on. Let's go ahead and get started with the Curvature Pen Tool. I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to click right here. If you'll notice that this has the same behavior marks as the regular pen tool. It's got that little star next to it that's telling me I'm starting a new anchor point. So I'm going to click, but it looks a little different, the curvature pen tool marks. They aren't the square anchors, but I'm going to come here. The other thing you're going to see is I don't have the leading guide where I did with the pen tool, but I'm going to click one more time, and it's got a straight line. Don't worry about that because we're going to fix it. But if you see now, I've got this curved pull. I'm going to click here, and it's going to pull it a little wrong, and that's okay because as I go, it's going to fix itself and kind of adjust. And I'm going to get to the end of this one. I did a really simple one that's kind of a default one for the curvature pen tool to get us started. To get out of it is just like the same with the regular pen tool. We're just going to hit escape, and you can see that that changed to an open anchor instead of a solid one. Let's go ahead and do this next one. I'm going to zoom in a little so you guys can see better. I've got some straights, and don't worry about that. It does that. It just thinks you're going to start up here again. Once you start again, it'll fix itself. So I'm going to do some straights. So I'm going to click once. Oops, see, I was wrong that time. I'm going to hit escape again. I'm going to click once, but see, I need a straight here, and it looks like it's going to be straight until I pull off. So instead, if you double click on that, the next it's going to keep it straight, and then it's going to move you into a new point. But again, I need this one straight, so I'm just going to double click to get these straight as I go. Now, I don't have to worry about doing anything because it's automatically going to recurve for me when I move forward. Now, I'm going to mess this one up on purpose because I want you to see how I fix it. And then I'm going to hit escape. So I've got some of these that are not right because this should be straight and this should be straight. So all I'm going to do is go back to where I was, and I'm going to curve, I'm going to straighten those back out. And as I double click on those points, you can see it fixed itself everywhere else. Now, same down here, we're gonna do the same process where we're gonna just follow the path. One of the things you kind of have to learn with this tool is where you need to click. So I'm gonna double click there because I needed that point to be straight. All right, so we're looking good. I'm gonna double click here because I need to start another curve going the other way. Okay, and then again, I'm gonna double click here because I want what comes off of it to be straight. And I'm gonna double click. And again, I'm gonna mess up on purpose so I can just go back and double click that one to get it straight. Now, this point is a little high for me, so I'm gonna kind of click on that and just move it down so that it lines up a little bit more effectively to where I wanted it. That's some basic lines, open paths. Let's talk about some shapes though. So with this, it's the same concept except for while we're finishing, when we go to finish this, we will go back to where we started when we're all done. So I'm just gonna follow my circle around, and it's the same like I would do with the pen tool, is you need a certain number of paths. Now if you see my path behavior while I'm lining it up, I've got that circle, that closed circle, showing me that I'm gonna close my path. I don't have to hit escape because I closed my path and it knows that it's closed. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the heart. So with this one, I can do it a couple of ways. I can go ahead and follow this around and not worry about my straight points yet, and then fix it when I'm done. So I can double click here and double click here. And then sometimes I need to kind of drag things around in order to fix it. Maybe I needed to add another point right here. I can just click and add that point to get my circle. And let's say I decided I don't want this anchor point, okay? I can remove that as well by going to my delete anchor point over here and getting rid of it. And it'll kind of fix itself. And then you can adjust your heart the same way you would with your pen tool. It doesn't, just because you started with the curvature pen tool doesn't mean you have to stay with it. So that to me is why having both in your arsenal is very effective. I'm not going to do this one because I want to challenge you to do this one on your own. Below, we've got some more complicated shapes, and then I've got some really advanced shapes for you to practice your skills with. I'm gonna start with this one just first so that you can see that sometimes we have to do multiple shapes. So while we have one, this I'm gonna call, you could do this as one shape if you wanted to, or you could do the circle as one and the Avengers A as one. Same with the Superman here. That is completely your call. You could do the outside shape, this kind of polygon, and then do the S separately, or you can completely trace the entire thing. I personally find it more effective to treat these as two separate pieces, but again, that is kind of dealer's choice. So with this one, I'm just double clicking. Hopefully you can hear that on the video that I'm double clicking to get that shape. And then now I'm gonna kind of go back here and trace inside my logo here. And again, I kind of use some of this. Again, if it's not perfect the first time, it's okay because we can go back and fix it when we're done. It doesn't matter if you get super close to that or not, because once we fill all this in, it's gonna kind of straighten itself out. So this is where you could do it here and then follow it over. I think that's a personal preference in my opinion. I like to kind of clean up as I go. Some people like to focus on perfection the entire time. I don't believe in perfection. I think it's easier to lay down your anchors and then fix it later as you need to, personally. Please remember, I'm never looking for perfection. I am looking for you to practice your skills. That is what I'm looking for. I'm going to straighten that one out, and then I'm going to pull half, pull. And again, this is where I would then take my direct select, and then I'm going to pull and adjust these anchor points as I need to, which we've already learned. This is why it's important to learn the pen tool first. If you just learn the curvature pen tool and you don't ever learn the regular pen tool, it's going to be much harder for you to go back and manipulate your various shapes here. What I'd like you to do is work on the rest of these. I am not going to walk you through the rest because I do want you to have to kind of work through and critically think. But remember, you have your straight lines, you have your curved lines. You can still use your delete anchor point. You can use your add anchor point. You can use your anchor point if you want to. If you missed a curve and you like this one better, personally, I would go back to the curvature pen tool to add a curve back. And then, of course, the direct select is always your best friend. Hopefully, you'll find a lot of good use for this as we continue to move through Illustrator. Thanks, and I'm looking forward to seeing your superhero logos when you're done.